Yeah, hi. Welcome all. Uh, this is this video is a continuation part for the Axios part two. In the previous session, we have seen how we are going to do a get API call using the Axios in the component did mount. So now we'll see a couple of things like how we are going to transform the data before we are showing that to the user. How we are going to transform the data. When we do a get call, we get the response. Before showing that response to the end user, we can transform the data. So how we are going to transform the data before showing that to the users. So this is the one thing we'll be doing. And next thing, how to do a post call using Axios. So this is the second thing we'll be looking into. And the third part, we'll check what if there are any errors. As we discussed, like in a promise, there would be a reject or and resolve. Both will be there. In the reject, you can observe in the reject is like it's an error case. So we'll check what happens if in an error case we'll do a catch error. We can catch these errors and we can see what happens. So these are the 3 points we are going to look in here. So let's look into the first point. So in the last class, we got a CSS not in a good way. So I have kept the small CSS part. I have added this as a small CSS. So let me title and ID. Let's do in this way. Show ID here. Yeah. Here you can find the ID. Right? So now I think we are getting only ID, user ID, I think. Yep. Yep. Let's see. I mean, how we need to transform the data. Here we have made an API call. So now we are getting 100 records. So there are 100 records like this. So we got 100 records here. So instead these 100 records, let me fetch the first five or six records. So what we are going to do, though, so when we do an API call here, so I'm getting entire data here. So I need to manipulate it somehow so that I need to get only few records. So what I need to do for that, I am taking one. I'm variable. I'm going to take one variable, and from that response, I'm slicing. I will, I will splice some data and I will show 0.5. So now I will get only 5 records. So only 5 records will be available in this mod post. So just I will give only these 5 records here. So now if you check, only will be getting only 5 records here. So I think there is a typo issue here. Yep. So this is a typo. So now what I'm doing here in the component did mount, I've done one API call with get request. So I got a response here. In the earlier session, we have seen all the response we are showing directly to the user. So instead that we can control the response. What we got from the API, we can control that response. In what way? I'm trying to show it. Here we got 100 records earlier. So now I tried to show only 5 records. So in that way, so we can transform the data. Have control it in and transforming this 5 data. So and also I can add one more property to the data which we got. So now we have done there are we got in 100 records. Just we have shown only 5 records. So how to modify the data? So this is the response we will be there. We will be getting. So I'm trying to map throughout this response, and I'm showing, and I will add one more property. So this is how it looks, and here I'm trying to return the same. So dot post means I'm not modifying the original object. I'm just appending one more property, author. I'm adding author as my name. So in that case, what happens here is, so here we got 100 records, whereas slicing that to 5 records, and for that 5 records, we're adding one more property, author. So for each and every post, so I'm returning the post object where the dot dot post means it is a copy. I'm taking the post copy as it is. I mean the object which I'm getting from the response, I'm taking it as it is, and I'm adding one more property, author, to all the properties. So here now we can send the author as well. Okay, so here we'll be getting an author also, and property. So I'll send here a author as well, and once I send here, also I need to add in this div as well. I need to add here author so that we can see the post data. See, let me refresh it again. So once I refresh it again, we'll be getting that Suresh as well. We have added one more property here. 1 second, I think we did not got that author. I have added this. Yeah, we did not got this author. This is because we have updated the updated list, but we are giving only this mod. We need to give this updated post to the state. So now we will be getting. So earlier we have given this modified state to our state. So if we give updated post, we'll be getting Suresh as an author as well. Now we can see the changes. So here see, we have added Suresh. So here what we have done is, in the first point I'm just trying to show the transformation of the data. We did an API call, get call, and we'll be getting some response there. So for that response, before showing that to the user, you can do some manipulations. So like formatting, like adding some currency symbols, or like splicing the required data, showing only required data, or adding few more properties. So in that way we can manipulate the data before we are showing to the user. This is what I'm trying to explain in the as a part one of this. So also just I wanted to reiterate one thing. So this is entire Axios call. So here I should not call this set state. This should not be present in outside this, because Axios is an asynchronous. I mean, once the request went, it will come back, and it will the response would be automatically catched in this response. So meanwhile, what all the lines we wrote next to the Axios will be executed straight away. So this updating of this state should be inside the promise itself. It should not be outside the Axios. Hope you understood the point. Let me reiterate it. Axios is a call which we'll be doing in an asynchronous way. So the set state should be inside the promise of then. It should not be outside the asynchronous. If we write this outside the asynchronous, what it will happen outside the Axios function, what will it happen means, as this is an asynchronous function, once we do an get call, it will next before getting the response only, we are trying to update the state. So there will be getting an issues. So the set state should be done inside the Axios method only. I mean inside the promise method only. So hope you understood this. So next, let me comment out this code. I will add some button here. Let me add some button here, and on click of this button, now I wanted to show you one post call, how we are going to do the post call, how we are going to add the handle the post data. Okay, so now when I click this button, post data, so this is similar to the get. So I have just comment out the comment component did mount just for more clarity. I'm copying this post data handler here. So I'm using an arrow function, so there won't be any issues with the binding of this. So here I need to do an Axios, Axios call for the post. So the syntax would be the same. Dot post call, and I'm sending the same URL here. I can send the same URL, but of course in the post we need to send another parameter, that is data. It would be expecting some data, like and the post call is nothing but we are sending some data. Get call is nothing but we are requesting some data from the server. Post call is meant we are trying to post some data like a registration form. If we have some registration form, we can save, we can show that data as well. So here I'm just taking one object and I'm trying to send few details like title, React API calls, and these are the main properties. So in the real world, we need to know what all the exact parameters we need to send to the backend. Like in a registration form, we need to send first name, last name, phone number, email ID, like that. In the real world, we need to send all these data and we need to post to the respective URL given by our backend developers. So this is a dummy data I'm trying to send, like using Axios. Just I will show how we need to send the data. So this is how we are going to send the data. So in the real world, you can not even hard coding like this. You can do uh, this dot. We can take this from the state itself. This dot set state dot first name. If you call this like this, you will be getting the first name. So you can send the data in this way in the applications which we use the state, and we the backend is expecting the first name last name like this. So you can get that name values from the state and you can append it to the respective objects, and you are sending this data object to the uh, post call. Okay, so once I send that, I will be getting back the response. I mean, this response would be most mostly this response would be like a status code of just we have a send the data. So there would be no much details, as it is not an get call. We'll be only getting this response. Yeah, have seen, we have, this is that much simple post call. Just we are replacing get with post, and we are sending one more parameter. This parameter is an object, where in this object you can send whatever the backend people needed, I mean the integration part. So it would be, if in a it is an registration form, you need to send first name, last name, and the phone number, mobile number. Those type of things we need to send. So I'm sending that data like this. So here in the usual world, we need to do JSON stringify. Before posting a data, we need to do a JSON stringify. If you people are trying to use a fetch API for service calls, you need to manually, we need to convert the data into JSON stringify. So whereas here we are using Axios. So Axios automatically, it will help us doing the JSON stringify. So there is no need for us to do. So thanks to Axios. So here it is directly converting this data into an JSON stringify. So it's fine. So here when we send this post data in the backend, there will be the calls. They will get this data and they will put this data into the DB. So let's see what happens. So we are sending this call in the button click. The get call we wrote in a component did mount. We did not call this method because this method would be directly called when the component was loaded, as it is a component lifecycle method. But this method is not like that. We wrote a button like a submit button. Registration form, in a registration form we can submit the button. So in a submit button, I will be calling this method and I am sending this object data. I mean, I should pick the data from the form and I'm sending that data to this respective URL. Let's see what happens. I'm opening my console. I just have a button. So let me show you. I click button. So see post. I got 201. Usually in the get call, I used to get 200, so that I used to get the data back. So here, if you see, the response is one ID 101. It is sending the response. So let's check how we have sent the data. So this is the request payload. This is called a request payload. So whatever the data we are sending, it would be in this format. So whenever there is an issue, we are getting any 400 errors, we need to check here what's the exact request payload we are sending. So this is the request payload we are sending, and this is the response we got. It was written back the 101 ID. It means we have posted our data successfully. It is returning some ID back for us to store. I mean, this is ID that we have stored. So this is how we are going to do the post call. So keep in mind that the request payload is nothing but the data which we are sending here. I mean, this is nothing but the request payload. In the real world, we used to call this as a request payload. Okay. Mainly the front end and back end people needs to uh, come up with an agreement of what back end people are expecting and what the front end people should be sending. So that's called as a request payload. Okay. So next, the delete and the all the other methods like delete, patch, everything goes in the same way. Delete. Let me show you the Axios guide. So here you can have a number of examples stating how to use the uh, update, delete, put like this. So everything is looks same. So in the get we have seen get, getting a post call, and catch. This is the second one we will be seeing in a minute. So just I wanted to explain you the remaining calls are also works in the same way. Just you need to see the post call you have seen that we are sending some data. So these are in the delete and every remaining also there will be in the same format. So just for our reference, you can for more practice or more look over, you can access this website. So I'm keeping this in the notes part. Yeah. Now sometimes every time we may not get same output or everything. Sometimes we may face few issues. There may be a network issue, or there may be a wrong data request url we are sending, request url we are sending, or wrong request payload we may be sending. So there may be chances of sending getting an error. So how we need to handle those errors? So in that case we need to have a catch. So as we discussed in a promise, we have then we have resolve and reject. Resolve means resolving a promise. So there the response will be coming in this. If there is any error, then we need to catch that error. That will be coming in this catch. So I will be catching that error, and for now I will log that. And in the real world, what we need to do, I will explain you that. Yep. So I need to, I'm just here, I'm just logging the error, and then I'm just logging the response. Okay. This is for resolve. This then is for resolve. And this catch is for error, reject. So overall, now we need to create an error in order to check this. So I'm just adding 123 at the end of the URL. So now we don't have this URL at the server point. So then what happens? It will return an error. So that's why I have just added 123 here, so that we'll be getting an error. Just here, just I wanted to explain you forcefully. I'm throwing an error, so that just wanted to check how this is going to handle. Let's see here. So I will refresh it once again. Let's check what was the error we got here. So, so there are a lot of requests would be getting here. So in order to filter your request, you need to click here, post. So then exactly you will be getting our request. So still you not got the post. Why? Because we did not click the button. I'm clicking the button. So here see post 123. So I got 404. It means not found. The URL which I'm sending is not available at the server side. So now what needs to do? The promise has rejected the request. So we'll come to this catch block. So let's check what we got in the console. See, we got this 404 error. In this error, we got request failed with the status code 401, 404. 404 is nothing but not found. So if you see, that is the error, it was catched. So you can handle in other way. Like I'm storing one state variable here, error status. So just I'm taking one error status, and I'm making this as a false state variable. Seeing here, and now here what I will do is I will, if the control comes here, I will modify this error status to true. It means we got an issue in our code. Okay, we got an issue in our code. Let's when we got any error, let's show some alert that we got an error. So we need to show some alert, right? So for that, I'm writing some one more conditional rendering. I'm writing some conditional rendering here, where a user can use this. If this dot state dot error status is true, if this is true, just give an alert saying something went bad, something went wrong, try later. So this is just a conditional rendering. So now if it is okay, I mean if it is not false, let's show an empty. We'll return a null. Okay, let's see. I have a post call here. I'm clicking this. So now you can observe this. You have got this line of code. This is called as a conditional rendering. I could able to render this only when I got an error status as a true. So this is the reason I have taken one error status in the state and kept it as a false in the initial state. So this component would return only null. As this became false, this component will return null. So there won't be any component resided here. So when I click the button, we are going to this function, and there is a 404 error, it is not found here. So we are going to return back to the catch block. In this catch block, we are returning. I mean, we are making this variable error status as a true, and we are handling that status as something like this. So in the real world, you can do something like you can have a component in the place of this alert. You can have a component, and you can make that component to be visible to the user. So if there are any errors, user need not know about what error he has faced. So he can see just whether this error is relative to the, I mean, this error, we should give some type of information to the user. If there is any error occurred in the server side, or any backend error, front end error, anything, the user no need to know the exact error. He can't do anything with that error. He just need to understand. We need to say that there is some issues. Please try again. There should be a friendly message to the him. So that is what we are trying to show here. So here, instead of a JavaScript basic alert, we can use any number of, I mean, a custom component. So in this way, we can handle the actions. So just wanted to reiterate the things which we have learned today. Like at the initial point, we have started with the how to transform the data that we are getting from the get call. So that we have done like a splicing only. I mean, we got 100 records, we have made this 5 records, and later on we have modified, I mean, we have added one more property to all the posts, like author, and we have updated that with this state. So also I have mentioned an important point that this dot state should not be outside of the Axios. If so, the state would be rendering, I mean, there would be some ambiguity states. I mean, the data would not be getting exactly here, because asynchronous call, Axios is an asynchronous call where the call happens and response comes back. Before that only the next line would be executing. So that's the reason we need to definitely write this set state inside that this Axios. So this is the way we can convert the data before showing to the user. Usually we do accessing the decimal points and adding the dollar symbols here. And this is a post call. When I click a button, I'm going to this post call. We can use this Axios a number of times as we have imported above. The syntax should be the same as get, just we need to add post, and we need to give a payload, request payload. We need to call this as a request payload as a second parameter. And the resolve would be going to the then method, and reject would be going to the catch method. So we wantedly made a request to be failed by adding 123 at the end of the URL. So the request got failed. So now the response, we are modifying a state. Whenever the request fails, we're wantedly using a variable error status as false. This is a default value. When we got into the catch, we are making this as a true. So in this way, we can show any custom component for the users, stating that there is some issue with the server or backend. Please wait for some time. So this is the friendly message which we can show. So thanks a lot.